Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you are a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Saccoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Child Care Director's Chair.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Saccoccio, and if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. If you are a returning guest, well, welcome back. I have missed you. I know I've missed a couple episodes. I'm so sorry about that. As the young folks say, life be lifin'. I have new grandkids, working on my finals for school, and just wrapped up a huge project, my conference, which took me about 10 months to get underway, execute, and it was amazing. So if you were there, you already know. Okay, guys. So what I want to talk about today that I really believe has the power to transform your classrooms, your staff culture, your leadership, and educational outcomes in early childhood education, and that's movement and pedagogy leadership. Because somewhere along the way in this field, many leaders become buried in operations. We have become experts in staffing, in scheduling, in ratios, compliance, billing, enrollment, emails, policies, paperwork, and yes, all of that matters. But operational leadership, that might keep your doors open, but pedagogy leadership changes lives. Children do not experience your spreadsheets. They experience your classrooms. They experience the teacher energy, the classroom culture, relationships. They experience engagement, emotional safety, curriculum, and opportunities for movement and exploration. That is what shapes childhood. And strong pedagogy leadership means leaders are deeply connected to how children learn, how teachers teach, how environments feel, how engagement is built, how classrooms support emotional regulation. But most of all, my favorite, how joy and connection exists inside of learning spaces. And honestly, I would almost argue with you that pedagogy leadership is just as important, if not more important, in some ways for children than the day-to-day operation responsibilities. Because pedagogy leadership directly impacts the actual experience children are having every single day. And research consistently shows that strong instructional and educational leadership improves language development, social and emotional growth, engagement, and long-term school readiness outcomes for children. Studies also show that when teachers feel supported by strong educational leadership, morale, retention, and engagement improve significantly. And honestly, that makes sense. Because teachers who feel inspired, they teach differently. Teachers who feel supported, they lead differently. And teachers who work in strong learning cultures, they stay longer, they collaborate better, and they create stronger relationships with children. And one of the most overlooked tools connected to all of this is movement. Movement is not extra, it's not a filler. Movement is not something we squeeze in after the real learning. Movement is learning. Movement impacts your memory, your focus, your emotional regulation, wellness, engagement, social connection, classroom culture, and staff morale. And the Center for Disease Control and Prevention reports that physical activity improves concentration, memory, emotional wellness, and cognitive function for both children and guess who else? Adults. Honestly, if you work in early childhood education, you probably do not even need the research to know this is true. You can feel the difference after children have had movement opportunities. You can feel the difference after outside play. You can feel the difference after music and movement. And you can feel the difference when classrooms are engaged instead of rigid. And for those of you here in New England, this conversation really matters even more because during the winter months, we become incredibly sedentary. Children spend more time indoors, teachers become exhausted, energy levels drop, cabin fever, well, that's a real thing, stress increases, and the behavioral challenges, do I even need to say it? And sometimes programs slowly slip into survival mode. There's more sitting, more controlling behavior, there's less engagement, definitely less movement, and less joy. But children were never designed to learn that way. Honestly, adults were not either. I want you to think about your last professional development training that you attended. Was it a lecture style? Were you sitting in rows, looking at slides? Did you leave inspired or did you leave exhausted? Now think about the best PD that you ever attended. I guarantee it probably included interaction, movement, collaboration, laughter, reflection, discussion, energy, because adults learn through engagement too. And research consistently shows that active learning improves retention and participation because people remember experiences more effectively than passive listening. So, if adults need active learning environments to stay engaged, why do we expect children to thrive sitting still all day long? Children need movement, teachers need movement, leaders need movement. Now, there's a quote that I've heard before, and I can't remember the person who said it, but it was something like, there's no learning without movement. And honestly, that quote perfectly describes early childhood education. Because movement is how children explore, how they regulate, how they connect, build confidence, strengthen memory, process emotions, build those relationships, and like I said, experience joy. Think about your own childhood. I know my childhood was pretty sweet. Dance parties in the kitchen, freeze dance at school, running through the fields or down the road to the ocean, riding bikes until the streetlights came on, playing tag, relay races, even pretend parades, jumping in those puddles too. Super fun. What all those memories have in common? Well, movement, but also feelings, freedom, joy, belonging, connection, excitement. Movement creates emotional memories, and emotional memories create deeper learning. Now, today, I want to really break it down to 10 major benefits of movement for leadership, for staff, and children, because it goes way beyond adding a dance break into your schedule. These are leadership strategies. Number one, movement improves focus and attention. One of the biggest misconceptions in education is that movement distracts children from learning. You know you're guilty of it when you ask kids to stop wiggling at the carpet and to pay attention. In reality, movement improves attention and focus because the brain and the body are deeply connected. And when children move, oxygen flow, blood circulation increases, and that supports, guess what? Concentration, memory, and cognitive processing. Think about how hard it is for adults to sit still through long meetings or trainings. Adults start doing what? You start checking your phones, drifting off mentally, thinking about what are you going to make for dinner, or feeling exhausted after long periods of passive listening. Children experience the same thing. Expecting their developmental brains and their bodies are even more dependent on that movement and regulation and engagement. As leaders, we have to stop seeing movement as something that interrupts the learning and start to recognizing that movement often prepares children for learning. A child who gets to move, stretch, jump, and actively engage is often far more capable of focusing during meaningful instruction afterward. And the same is true During staff development and staff meetings, it's important that people get to move. It's so funny. I was in a classroom yesterday, which I actually loved. And we read a story, and the story was called The Bug Dance. And I really like it's part of the Math Starts book series, which if you don't have those in your school, you should. And this is not a paid endorsement. But it tied movement, literacy, and math all together so beautifully. And the kids had a great time. Okay, leadership strategy number 2, movement creates calmer classrooms. Many educators fear that movement is going to make your room chaos, but it's not. But intentional movement actually helps prevent chaos because children are given healthy ways to regulate their bodies and their emotions throughout the day. Children are expected to sit for long periods of time often become dysregulated. They become restless, frustrated, emotionally reactive, and disconnected from the learning environment. When movement opportunities are built intentionally into routines, into those transitions, into curriculum, behavior often improves naturally because children are no longer fighting against their body's developmental needs. As leaders, this means we need to rethink how we define what good classroom management looks like. Sometimes the calmest classrooms are not the quietest classrooms. Sometimes the healthiest classrooms are the ones filled with purposeful movement, engagement, conversation, laughter, and active participation. Now, number 3, movement supports sharper memory and thinking. Research consistently shows that active learning improves retention because the brain remembers experiences more effectively than passive learning. And children remember songs with movements, stories that they've acted out, counting games with jumping and hands-on experiences, because that movement, that activates multiple parts of the brain at once. And the learning becomes connected to emotion, sensory input, and physical engagement, which strengthens your memory pathways. And adults learn the same way. Think about that professional development session that you remember most. Chances are you remember the ones that you participated in, that you got to talk, that you got to collaborate, that you got to reflect on, or the ones that were physically engaged in the experience. That strong pedagogy leadership means understanding learning sticks when people experience it, not just hear it. Number 4, one of my favorites, it improves your mood. Movement has a powerful impact on emotional wellness for both children and adults. Physical activity helps reduce the stress hormones while increasing chemicals connected to positive mood, emotional regulation, and overall mental wellness. And honestly, we need more emotional wellness conversations in early childhood education right now. Teachers are exhausted. Leaders, they're overwhelmed. And children, they're carrying stress too. Classrooms cannot thrive when everyone inside them is emotionally depleted. Movement creates emotional release. It shifts energy. It creates laughter and joy and connection. Sometimes a simple dance party, a stretch break, an outdoor walk can completely reset the emotional tone of the classroom or the staff team. And leaders who intentionally build development into the culture are often building emotional wellness at the same time. And if you're doing that, good for you. Number 5 is movement builds stronger teams. There's something incredibly powerful about moving together. Think about sports teams, dance teams, walking with a friend, or even laughing together during a team building activity. That shared movement creates connection. And in early childhood education, relationships matter deeply. And staff will feel connected to one another, collaborate more effectively. They communicate better, and often experience stronger morale. Movement-based activities during staff meetings, PD sessions, or classroom collaboration opportunities can strengthen relationships in ways that traditional meetings sometimes cannot. Strong cultures are not built through the policies alone. They're built through those shared experiences. And leaders who create opportunities for staff to laugh, they move, they connect, and they engage together, and are often building stronger workplace cultures naturally. Number 6, movement increases engagement. Passive learning creates passive listeners. Active learning creates active thinking. When movement is intentionally built into classrooms, participation increases because children become part of the learning process instead of simply observing it. Children become more curious, more expressive, collaborative, and emotionally invested in what they're learning. And engagement matters because engaged children are more likely to retain information, participate socially, and develop positive relationships with learning itself. And the same is true for adults. Staff meetings, coaching sessions, and PD become much more effective when movement and interaction are built into the experience. And as leaders, we have to ask ourselves, are children engaged because they're interested or compliant? Because they're afraid to move? There's a big difference between true engagement and silent compliance. Number 7 is movement supports different learning styles. Bravo if you know that. Not every child learns by sitting quietly and listening. Some children need movement, some need touch, some need rhythm, some need sensory experiences or physical interaction to fully process information. Movement helps create more inclusive learning environments because it allows multiple entry points into the learning. Kinesthetic learners, neurodiverse learners, multilingual learners, and children with a variety of sensory needs often benefit significantly from active learning opportunities. Strong pedagogy leadership means understanding that equality in education is not about forcing every child to learn the same way. Equality means creating environments where more children can successfully access the learning, and movement helps make that possible. Now, number 8, movement helps prevent burnout. Burnout is one of the biggest challenges facing early childhood education right now. But burnout is not caused only by workload. Burnout is also caused by constant stress, emotional overload, and environments where people never really fully reset. And movement helps regulate the nervous system. Simple things like stretching, walking meetings, outdoor breaks, music, or movement during professional development can dramatically improve staff energy and morale. And leaders who prioritize movement are also often prioritizing wellness. And wellness matters because exhausted teachers struggle to sustain the emotional energy required for high quality early childhood education. Staff need opportunities to breathe, to laugh, to move, and reconnect with joy. Number 9, movement builds confidence. Children build confidence through exploration, movement, and active participation. They learn about their abilities, their strengths, their coordination, and independence through physical engagement with the world around them. Movement encourages children to take those risks to solve problems, express themselves creatively, and build resilience. And a child who feels physically capable often becomes more socially and academically confident too. I think leaders need to remember that confidence is not only built through academic achievement. Confidence is also built through opportunities to explore, to try, to move, to create, and succeed in meaningful ways. And number 10, again, my favorite, movement creates joy. And honestly, I think it might be the most important one because joy matters. Children deserve classrooms where learning feels exciting. Teachers deserve workplaces that feel energizing. And leaders deserve cultures that feel hopeful instead of exhausting. Somewhere along the way, many educational environments became so focused on control, on compliance, on productivity, that joy slowly disappeared. Joy is not fluff. Joy impacts relationships, engagement, motivation, and emotional wellness. And movement brings joy back into learning. So keep those dance parties going. Freeze dance, outdoor adventures, pretend parades, music and movement, laughter during transitions, shared experiences. Those matter deeply because they help children associate learning with positive emotional experiences. So that's it. This episode today is sponsored by Family, a platform that's helping early childhood programs simplify communication, strengthen family partnerships, and create a more connected learning environment. A huge thank you to Family for sponsoring our early childhood conference a couple weeks ago. If you haven't checked out Family yet, definitely do that. They will help your program with that parent communication. As we start to wrap up this episode, I want you to leave with this leadership reflection. Are you only leading operations, or are you leading to make a difference? The strongest programs are not simply organized. They're alive. There are places where children feel engaged, teachers feel inspired, and movement is welcome. Relationships are strong, classrooms feel joy, and learning feels interactive. Staff feel valued, leadership shapes the culture. Culture shapes classrooms. And the classrooms, well, they shape childhoods. This week, I challenge you to notice movement differently. Notice how children behave after active learning. Notice how staff energy shifts after laughter and connection. And notice how classrooms feel when learning becomes interactive. Notice how you feel when you move instead of sitting behind a desk all day. Take the walk with your staff. Turn on the music. Do the freeze dance. Create the parade. Bring movement into your meetings. Bring movement into your PD. Bring movement into your classrooms. Because movement isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's relational, it's cultural, and it's pedagogy, and it's leadership. When leaders intentionally create environments where people can move, where they can connect, where they can regulate and engage, everything changes. Classrooms become calmer, staff definitely happier, and teams become stronger. Learning becomes more memorable, children become more confident, and programs begin to feel alive again. So thank you so much for joining me this week on the Child Care Directors Share podcast. If this episode spoke to you, share it with another leader, another teacher, another director, another owner, because together we're building stronger cultures and stronger futures for children.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Child Care Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Saccoccio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.